Hi guys, it's Debbie and it's time we have the talk. I've been wanting to discuss the importance, or lack thereof, sex scenes in films for a while now, and following the widespread interest and conversations surrounding Saltburn, I think it's time we address this topic. If you haven't had the chance to watch Saltburn yet, or it's not your cup of tea, don't worry. It serves more as a starting point of the conversation, but we'll have a look at the more widespread situation of the film industry without spoilers. So a few years ago, articles started popping up discussing a shift in the attitude of the younger generations. Despite often being described in the media as wild, unconventional, sexually open, it seemed like they were being progressively more put off by intimate scenes in movies, considering them useless to the plot. This sparked a lot of debate on whether these scenes actually enhance a character's personality or if they're simply inserted to pad the storyline and generate shock value. Of course, there's a difference between Megan Fox's sex scene in the latest Expendables movie and back in the day when Stanley Kubrick used to discuss the need for honesty and authenticity in depicting human behaviour, including the intimate aspects of relationships and human desires. And on the other hand, we're now witnessing films that could have easily included sex scenes, yet they function seamlessly without them. Romantic movies, which traditionally almost always feature the scene of the couple ending up in bed, are now thriving and gaining popularity even without such scenes. Take, for example, Past Lives. The increased use of technology in the future will also be used in creating intimate sequences, as well as already becoming part of the storyline. Think of Joaquin Phoenix in bed talking to his AI assistant in the movie Her. Is that too far from today's reality? The short answer to this big question about sex in movies is it depends. The long answer is the rest of this video. Now, the example of Saltburn comes up because a significant part of this film's promotion and its popularity is due to its, let's say, unconventional scenes. Without giving away any spoilers for those who haven't seen the film yet, let's say that Barry Keoghan's character doesn't hold back when it's time to do it, even in the least expected and most inappropriate situations. As this film is targeted to a younger audience who understandably haven't seen that many incredibly disturbing films, many have described it as the most unconventional, explicit, disturbing thing they've ever laid their eyes upon. I'm not here to judge. For me personally, it's far from being disturbing, but it does depend on one's personal taste and their watch history. But one thing is clear about this film: the sex is necessary for the plot. The film actually opens with the protagonist trying to explain his attraction to his new friend, and from there the plot is immersed in sexual tension, characterized by an animalistic and instinctive nature, contributing to shaping the protagonist's wild personality, how he lives in this world, and what he is capable of doing. If you think of it, apart from one maybe particularly explicit scene, this film actually showcases less nudity and sex than some more widely popular films like The Wolf of Wall Street. Actually, The Wolf of Wall Street serves as a good example of how sex isn't merely a plot filler, but a way to depict the protagonist's addiction-driven and hedonistic lifestyle. The depiction is far from positive. The characters are either cheating or they're paying women while they're high on every substance possible, probably thinking about money all the time. The disgust and awe we have towards the characters builds up even thanks to these scenes. Earlier I was mentioning how it seems like the younger moviegoers are the ones becoming concerned with sex scenes in films, while we would usually think it would be the older and more conservative audience. But if you think of what they got to see back in the day, in general it seems that everyone is becoming more accustomed to increased nudity and explicit content. Beyond sex, it has become more prevalent to encounter full frontal nudity, drug use, and explicit language in mainstream and readily available films. Think of Jennifer Lawrence in her recent movie No Hard Feelings. Maybe not as much on a streaming platform's original content. For example, Netflix's original content tends to not be too controversial or explicit, except for, of course, some famous examples, probably to appeal to the widest audience possible. Because remember, again, what is explicit to me and you might not be the same for somebody else. Think of Florence Pugh, who was covered in certain scenes in Oppenheimer in order to be shown in some countries. On a side note, the positive aspect of streaming services in this context is that people worldwide now have the opportunity to view and explore diverse and unconventional representations, potentially beyond what is available in their local cinemas. The truth remains that sex sells and gets people talking. Look at me and you here chatting about this topic, about these films. And I think sometimes it's more of a marketing strategy than an actual artistic choice. Again, Saltburn's marketing campaign has all been about the curiosity surrounding its adult scenes. Or some directors are well known for including explicit content. An easy example is Lars von Trier, who even uses unsimulated scenes and has admitted to want to push the boundaries of what is acceptable in cinema. He actively does this. An easy way to determine whether a certain scene is necessary for the plot is to see whether the film would work without it. Part of my daily job, aside from my channel, includes censoring films for platforms where Nussefurview content is not allowed. And let me tell you, there is a plethora of bad B-movies in which the sex scenes could be completely cut out and the plot would work just fine, sometimes even better. A recent example of a way more mainstream film sparking debate about its inclusion of sex scenes is Oppenheimer. Director Christopher Nolan has often been accused of being cold, of never including meaningful romantic relationships in his plots. I could open a whole new chapter about why that isn't totally true, about how love is what actually moves most of the plot of even sci-fi films like Interstellar. The point is, his films have always worked fine without sex. Then Oppenheimer turned up with what I believe is an R rating for nudity, sexual content. People were surprised, myself included, and then we saw the film. While not excessively explicit, the scenes are necessary for character development, revealing the torment in both the protagonist's public and personal lives. We could cut out those scenes, but a significant part of the plot, what is implied in the story, his relationship with his wife and his nearly negative depiction, wouldn't have worked the same. On a smaller scale, the same goes for a recent film called Eileen with Anne Hathaway and Thomasin McKenzie. This film has a lot of flaws, but the protagonist's sexuality and how she acts upon it are vital for the build-up to the character and to the final act. Instead, if we go back, for example, 1 year, Blonde, a film depicting Marilyn Monroe's life as a sex symbol, faced heavy criticism for its constant and exaggerated sexual scenes. Despite attempts to justify it as a commentary on her exploitation, the explicit content was perceived as an overkill. Loads of this film could have been cut out. So there's no fixed limit to the amount of explicit content before it gets useless. It's about how filmmakers use it. Gaspar Noé's Love and Irasak's Passages include extensive intimate scenes integral to the plot, conveying the complexity and sadness of relationships. On the contrary, Nymphomaniac, often labelled as nearly pornographic, brings up feelings of loneliness, despair, guilt. The famous double scene at the end of Requiem for a Dream is often considered one of the most disgusting scenes in cinema history. And it gained this status because of the film's context. Taken out of context, it's not that bad. It looks like something you could literally come across on Twitter, but within the context of the film, it portrays addiction's devastating consequences. Films like Fat Girl depict pressure on the protagonist, evoking discomfort not through extreme content, but by exploring societal issues. It doesn't always have to be as extreme as Pink Flamingos, it can sometimes just be a sentence or a frame. Other films such as The Handmaiden, Eyes Wide Shut, It Follows, Dogtooth, all depict sex in ways that are integral to the plot, contributing to the overall narrative. Honestly, I'm not sure how this situation will evolve in the future. On the one hand, people are becoming progressively more accustomed to explicit content, granting filmmakers the freedom to include almost anything in a film, but people are also becoming a bit wary of the usual predictable scenes. As I was mentioning at the beginning of this video, films like Past Lives prove that filmmakers have opportunities to follow conventional paths and insert sex scenes. However, they are now opting to construct narratives without relying on explicit content, potentially establishing a new precedent. In conclusion, the discussion surrounding intimate scenes in films reflects the dynamic nature of cinema as a mirror to society's evolving attitude, especially in an era so heavily influenced by social media. For example, the famous bathtub scene in Saltburn has become so popular on social media that now the For Your Consideration poster actually only features the bathtub drain. It's evident that the role of intimacy in cinema is a multifaceted and complicated topic which doesn't have just a "it depends" answer. One thing is certain, the portrayal of certain explicit scenes is something that needs careful consideration. But now I want to know what you think about this topic. How do you think the industry will shift in the future? Will it actually shift? Let me know everything with a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.